Cool. All right, we are back. Wow, it sure has been a little bit since we got together and did this. And man, world events sure have transpired in the time that we have not been here, or not. I don't know. And had the holidays, and I guess the election got resolved. Maybe. We'll see. Gotta hope for a Christmas miracle because we're still in the nightmare hell realm that we've fallen into. But now we'll talk about a world that's only in a slight bit more chaos than our own. So we're back with Bionicle lecture number 10. I did bring the board this week because I wasn't a dummy like I was last time and forgot it. And we started, yes, Chris.
Before we get into it,
this
was the holiday times where we had the turkey times and the Black Friday times. I was thinking about this question the entire time.
Yes.
I wasn't here.
Did they make
What?
it Black Friday?
No. Yes is the answer to that question. But no. Did they have Bionicle holiday specials?
No, but I really want them to have.
Okay.
I really want that in my heart of hearts.
Second question.
Who restores the meaning of whatever Bionicle Christmas is. We already have Bionicle Jesus. Matoro died to bring back. He is. We already have whatever that whole Matoro Easter Day. Oh.
But okay. So if there was a Bionicle Thanksgiving, what would be the actual name of it, and what would be their dish of choice?
Okay. Frick. Let's see.
I told you.
What would the day be? I would say it'd be probably like the Great Feast Gathering of Unity,
okay,
or something like that. That would probably be the name of it. I mean, you gotta put this. I mean, the old one I had up here. This one much better than this one, but just pretend. just
like a loaf of bread.
Just a little bit. This is the important Unity, Duty, Destiny loaf of bread. This is the bread of 3 virtues, passed down from a Toro to all those. Eat of his body. Drink of his. I don't think they have blood.
Today we celebrate the day that we went to Montanui and killed all of the settlers there in
Yeah. Man, speaking of genocide, we're gonna be getting into some. Okay, so yeah, that's. I guess that's my final answer. It's the gathering. Yeah, thank you. Oh, dish of choice. Probably would be
turkey.
Roast dog crab. Which I've still not seen a toy of yet, but roast dog crab.
Yeah,
one day okay, it's in pieces, and I'm gonna have to. Jason has one, and he's not here this week, so I can't bother him to bring his. Boo. Big boo. So is Tristan, he's gone too. Big boo.
Boo.
Sasha is on the way, however, so that'll be good.
Oh, I thought we were still doing
Yeah.
I got carried away.
I mean, it's nice that it's like the last times, like, we had 2 people here.
Did she watch this? Do I need to edit that out?
Oh, no, just keep it in. It's fine. Like, everything, I stand by everything we say here, for the most part. Except for the few things we had to edit out.
The couple things we say before we start filming.
And during and after.
Have you seen any comments about the audio going?
No, I haven't seen anyone say anything yet.
Success.
Yes, good success. So briefly, we're back after like 2 weeks of not having done this. So it's been a minute. Things have happened, but we're back on track to try and get into this.
It's complicated.
It really is. So we're going to be going in the 10th video on 2008, and I briefly talked about it last time about how just 2008 is so friggin' dense. It is by far and away the most dense storyline year, because everything after this, 2008 is the big payoff year. This is everything that has led up for the Bionicle series. Is they decided, you know what, 2008, that's what we're going to do it. Now, part of that is because allegedly, in a very recent interview, Greg Farshty, big brain writer for Bionicle, who just didn't have a really great editor, told everyone that he realized in 2008 that the series was going to be canceled, even though it didn't get canceled for like another 2-3 more years or whatever. But apparently he knew in 2008, and so that's why they decided to do a lot of the story reveal stuff that they did in 2008. But according to him, I guess, I mean, nobody else is talking about it as far as like the development of Bionicle. We don't really have anybody else's word to go by except for Greg Farsh's. So, I mean, like for 2008, for example, like we have 3 books, like we did last time for the Mario Nui series. We have Shadow in the Skies, Swamp Secrets, and the Final Battle. But then we have all these freaking serials. We've got Federation of Fear, Neutron Chronicles, Dark Mirror, The Kingdom, Dwellers in Darkness, Brothers in Arms, the Destiny War. And I forgot to put this up here too, but the Takanuva blog. Because he has a blog too. Golly knew I had a blog before. He's like, where's my blog? I don't have a blog. Can I have a blog, please? So he gets a blog. I mean, it's just so much. And each of these things has like at least 10 entries. With like an average read time of it. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like on most of these even, it's like at least 12 pages on top of everything. So it's like they went ham, just pumping out like here's all this information of everything going on. And for the 2008 year, we can basically divide all the story of what is going on into 3 sections. You have whatever the hell the Toanuva are doing. You have Takanuva and his miraculous, marvelous journey through time and space. And whatever the hell the Order of Montanui shenanigans, whatever the shenanigans they're doing. Everything else, it just falls into there, but you can basically just describe it in 3 days. And that's mostly how the books are written up too. So we were talking about last time, Shadows in the Sky. We got about halfway through the book. So, just a quick recap for everything we briefly talked about last time. Just to make it up. Finish up the Mario Nui saga. Mario Nui's done. No more underwater place. Everything's back on land. Matoro used the Mask of Life to bring Montanui back to life because he died. Now he's back to life, but Matoro dies in the process. Boo. Not really cool. All the Toamari, however, are saved from being just lost in the ocean as the islands that were falling from the skies and they found their place back together got warped back to Metro Nui. Good. They can breathe air again, so they're no longer waterlogged. Good. Toanuva have been transported. They got super new badass armor and weapons and stuff. Super good. But there's a bunch of Makuta around. There's like 6 Makuta around. Wow, that's crazy. And they turned a bunch of Matoran into Shadow Matoran that look like bats that have wings. Not really good. And there's only 1 village left of these light Matoran, and that's not really good. But now the Toanuva have shown up, and they're gonna fire Midak Sky Blasters because they're cool as shit. I can't remember if I talked about it last time. So the Midak Sky Blasters that the Toa use are, they kind of work with the same like hard spheres that the Xenon launchers did back when we had with the rocket and stuff. And they shoot like balls of concentrated light, which is super great for fighting Makuta, who are beings intrinsically made of darkness. Super good. Yes, on the Toa Igniter right there, he's got a little... Fuck, don't point that at me, dude. You don't know the danger of those things. This isn't the fucking squid launcher.
Is it do good?
Yeah, it will do good. It will.
I would not do it to the TV, really.
I'm not gonna shoot
Don't
you. I'm
do
just
that.
gonna shoot Daniel.
That was lackluster.
Wow. I feel like I was promised something more.
That's why you don't shoot sideways. You shoot.
Yeah, get that gangster shit out of here.
Alright, so...
Also, Sasha's here, yay!
Yay, Sasha's here, yay!
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Toa fighting a bunch of Makuta. The Makuta are blind now because they got, when the Mask of Light came down and did the whole big boom and activated, they were the only ones who looked at it. They're like, it was like looking at an eclipse. They're like, what the fuck is that? And then they're like, I'm blind!
It's kind of close, don't it?
Man, what is that thing? Maybe we should take a look.
Sun? Oh.
Oh,
People actually look at the eclipse now?
yes.
Surely big brains would never look at the eclipse.
That's how you get ultimate power, is by looking
Oh,
at the soul.
you absorb the sun through your eyes, and then you exert it through your hands. That's how that works, right?
It's canon.
It's canon now. I know how the boys works.
It's true. It's true.
I found
Hello, Homelander from The Voice. Hello, Zach Tam from Bionicle.
Wait, no no longer in Watertown.
No longer water. No longer we're gone. No water's gone. Bye.
But Toa water Toa stuck in water because we turned it by water. No.
Because now we're in the sky. We're literally in a giant. Okay, because you guys missed it last time. I don't know. And Chris didn't watch the video. I don't know fucking.
I was going to, but I got drunk.
Yeah. Oh, I know the story. Here's what you missed, basically. So to just recap this real quick. Toa, Bohrok-Kal chasing the Toa, the Mari, they've got the Mask of Life. The Mask of Life is happening. All of a sudden, Motunui dies. Everyone shits the bed. They're like, oh no, Motunui is dead. We all feel intrinsically in the universe. Motoro goes, nah, fuck that noise. I'm gonna save Motunui. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it though. I'm gonna do it. And so he continues swimming on in the ocean, but he's got it because what's happening is Voyanui, who is up above Marinui, right?
Yes.
The cord is destroyed. Voyanui, the island above, is now plummeting beneath the waves at rapid speeds. And then it's just going down. It is falling through where like the sea floor is. There's an imprint of where the island would fit through, and it is just falling through that. So it's going down deeper than that. Motoro swims down fast. He's like, oh, I gotta get past that. I gotta go underneath that. That's where I'm gonna go. Well, the other Toa basically run a suicide mission to just stop the other Bohrok-Kal and everything else from getting to Motoro. They're just gonna let themselves be dead, so that he can do the thing. He sees that after he goes through there, that he is falling down a cascading giant waterfall, and below them is a giant, massive landmass, the southern continent, and way down, while he's falling through the air with this giant island also falling through the air with him, he sees that there is a giant point of light just emanating from this giant landmass, and just falls right into that point of light before Voyanui falls back into the original landmass from whence it came. And then he finds himself falling down another secondary waterfall into a giant, massive doom cavern with a bunch of stalactites and stuff, and there's Makuta running around, and that's where he puts on the Mask of Life, and it goes, hey, good job, kid, but I'm going to eat your life for this. Motunui needs a life. And he was like, cool, no problem, Bob. I totally accept my destiny, and this is great, but I can't let my friends die. And the Mask is like, yeah, that sounds pretty legit. Okay, I can dig it. Cool. I'll let you use it. Just teleport them back to Metro Nui. Now they don't have to breathe underwater anymore. And so that's what happened.
Gotcha.
Okay. So now
That was a lot.
it was a lot. It was a whole lot. And now there's a lot less holes because the land masses have fit back.
Very,
There's a
very
lot less
southern
holes.
fucking.
Yes. So whatever the holes were that the island fell through in the first place, those have all been patched up somehow. The Toa had to find a staff of Artaka. It does a thing, fixes up things. I don't really know how it works. Can you even? I'm just saying. Tide comes in, time comes out. Sun goes up, sun goes out. You can't explain that. The Toa Nuva, after getting their sweet, badass new armor from Urtaka, have been teleported into the middle of the sky, where they've got whole new, really cool, massive, amazing designs. Like Toa Liwa here has his brand new design. They've got air boosters and shit. And they can fly around. Got an air saber. It's got this. Midax Sky Blaster. Swapsies here. And then, this is one of the Makuta Antros we talked about last time. They're all like bats! They're all bat boys.
That's cool.
Because they shapeshifted themselves to adapt for this environment to be kind of spooky, scary bat boys.
Are there big titty goth girls?
There are no big titty goth girlfriend bonks at this point, unfortunately. The only girl that shows up between... So all the other Toa get redesigns too, like Onua Nuva looks like this, and man, they all come up with some interesting designs. Tahu gets a spinny spin shield that shoots fire. Gali Nuva is the only one I actually don't have of the Mystica and Fantoka lines. Jason has some of the others, but it's fine. It's not really important. So they got new. But anyway, the big thing that makes them different now is they have brand new proto steel armor, so the strongest forged stuff in the universe. Their armor and their weapons are also known as adaptive armor, which means they will transform to fit whatever environment they're in for their benefit. They have to go do stuff underwater? Cool, now they've got underwater breathing armor. They have to go and fly up into the sun? Cool, now they have anti-melting armor. I don't know.
Strongest armor, but made of the worst plastic in the thing?
No, that's just the green lime joints.
That's just the joints, not the
That's
actual...
just the green lime joints. Actually, fuck all the joints in the 2008 line. because what they did, if you actually look on them, you'll see they're like squared on the actual joints. Lego did this because they were like, it's actually more cost effective and uses less plastic if we square the joints like that instead of having the regular rounded joints like we used to, which means all the joints of any like 2008 and beyond figure is just notorious for just breaking and being super brittle because it has less plastic in it than they normally did.
Yes, Sasha, let's test it out
I'm
now.
looking.
She's looking!
I'm learning
She's
things.
learning!
These break easy.
So there they are.
Yeah, but you can see like
That's them, though.
you can see where some of them have like cracks in them too, just because they're like, man, these are just brittle as hell. But before that, like 2006 specifically, there was just some issue with whatever pigment they were using for the lengthening joints. So, just, whatever. But yeah, no, 2008, not a great design year. Not super great for the actual pieces themselves. A lot of cool, interesting looking parts, like these air boosters and shit. Like Prohatu gets propeller hands, and they got some cool stuff. Anyway, so yeah, so now they're there, and because Toa have been tasked with a mission that they have to go and retrieve the Mask of Life and bring it to the final point that it needs to be, because Montanui has been resurrected. He is alive, but he's still comatose. So they've still got to get the Mask of Life to one more point. So it is like the last end of this fetch quest. So last time I talked about it, where some of the Matoran have been tainted, but the Makutas. They just go around and they drop out these little Tridax pods and bam, shadow leeches everywhere. Yeah, so they're little blue.
It has things in it.
Yeah,
There's toys of the shadow.
Yeah, there's toys of the shadow leeches. So the shadow leeches are apparently just like modified versions of the Krata, the thing that power the robot Rakshi armor.
Okay.
But they're designed to, if they latch onto you, they just eat the light out of your existence, and they just turn you into a being of shadow. So the Makuta have been doing this to turn a bunch of Matoran into shadow Matoran because they're looking for the Mask of Life, and they're like, well, we'll just enslave the entire population. That seems to be the thing to do.
They got that good stuff.
They got that good. And so there's only one village left, and so so basically they found out after a brief fight that the Mask of Life has fallen way down below, because the way that the actual it's called Cardanui is the name of the place. It's the world that feeds the world. It is known as like the center of the universe. And it is an entire like world like built with like just a giant cavern, and it's got like all these stalactites and stuff, and like there are bridges and walkways and villages that connect between them. And then way down below the mist and everything is this giant swamp of death. So the swamp of mystery. Ooh. And in the corner is still a giant waterfall falling from the sky into this place. I don't know either, man. I don't know either.
Do they not have flight, like, at all?
Oh, so the Toa Nuba have their armor gives them flight.
Okay.
The Matoran who all live here are Matoran. They are Matoran of light. And unlike the Matoran that we've all met before, they actually do have some elemental light energy that they can use to zap out of their swords and stuff. And anyway, so we found out that, the Makuta, because they are blind, the three Makuta that are here, have just been going like, hey, strap a Shadow Matoran on your back and use your power to see through people's minds, and then you have like a second set of eyes and actually see. Yes, Zach.
So if they're blind,
Yes.
I assume Bionicles poop. How do the Bionicles know when they're done wiping?
I don't actually know, and it's never described if there are any actual like digestion cycles with beings in the Bionicle universe. You would assume so, but that they can eat organic things, but it seems like it's almost like just converted to straight up energy.
So they're like Kim Jong-un, the glorious leader.
Yes.
I love
Yeah.
True Korea, can anyone tell?
Kim Jong Makuta has joined the ranks.
Cool.
Um,
I like him more now.
So turns out, the Toa are going to fight with them. Three of the Toa, Lima, Kopaka, and Bohrok-Kal decide, hey, we'll stay in the sky, we'll fight these Makuta out here, we'll see if we can find a way to cure these Matoran. Tahu, Gali, and Onuanuba are like, cool, we'll go ahead down into the swamp, see if we can find Mask of Life. Cool? Good. Team splits. Shadows in the Sky is mostly focusing on Lima, Kopaka, and Bohrok-Kal, and picking up where we left off last time. They found out they had tricked one of the Shadow Matoran into actually revealing where the Makuta hive base was. And so, all of a sudden, the Kerpop is the name of this Matoran, who is flying back to the Makuta home base, being like, oh no, the Toa figured out where they're gonna come and gonna fight us. In reality, the Toa are literally just following him, like literally wherever he goes, that's where he's just leading us to, because we have no idea where we're going. At the same time, down way, at the bottom of the swamp, is the Mask of Life that's fallen into the water. And the Mask of Life is alive and aware, and it can sense that there's, dark beings of shadow, and now there's Toa around here. So, man, Toa pretty cool. Toa's pretty great. Toa wore me, and he gave his life to bring back the universe. Toa pretty cool. I could be a Toa. I could be the best Toa. And so, he pulls in a bunch of, vines and seawater and just other material around him, and creates a body for itself, known as the Toa Ignica. And that's that boy right there in the yellow. Look at that. Look at him right there. That's him. Toa Ignica. That's why he wears the Mask of Life. He is the Mask of Life. Noticeably, silver instead of gold. Interesting. Very interesting plot point. Why could that be?
They cheat out.
Maybe. Who knows? So, I like to believe that it's more just they wanted to put silver on everything that year. They're like, silver and gray. Silver and gray. All new designs, lots of silver and gray.
I've been there before.
Yeah, I know.
Phase we all go
It's a phase we all go through, the silver and gray. Black and red, for losers.
Hey, fuck you.
Dude, silver and gray is all where it's at. Creates a body for itself, decides that he's going to be his own protector this time, and creates a giant, hoverboard, bike, skyboard thing that he can surf on the skies with. It's a skyboard thing. Look at that. Cool. So he stands on there, he flies around. Also, he's equipped, just like the Toa Nuvo, with the Midak Sky Blasters. So I remember I said they shoot concentrated light really good. Didn't talk about where the name comes from. And the name comes mostly from, there was a Matoran that Onua knew that was an Onmatoran, so one of the mole people Matoran that live underground, who just liked being out above the surface, which is like, no, that's not how that works. But he was just like, yeah, man, I can't see shit because it's so fucking bright out here, man, but I love this place. I hate being underground. I love this place, man. And his name was Midak, and Onua was like, yeah, it's just weird, but, he liked being up where there was light and sky. And Liwa goes, and Sky Blaster is a really cool word I've always wanted to use. So we're going to call them Midak Sky Blasters. Yeah. And that's how the name came to be. So they're following this Matoran. All of a sudden, here comes up Toa Ignica on his skyboard, and they're like, what even is that? Is it friend? Is it friend or foe? Friend or foe? And the Toa Ignica doesn't say anything, because it doesn't know how to talk. And they kind of were like, hold on a second. You're wearing the Mask of Life. What are you doing with that? And it's just hanging around. And then okay, oh, this is weird. And all of a sudden, a giant mutated Rahi shows up and goes to attack them. So all the Toa get in a position to fight. The Toa Ignica just looks at it and goes, that's not cool, and devolves it back into its primordial state of soup, and just kills it. Yeah, he's a Toa of life. He has control over all living, in general. And all the other Toa were like, hey, what was that, man? He was like, oh man, I'm sorry, but internally because he can't talk. And he's just well, it was my first time fighting something, and I didn't really know what to do, and I killed it. I feel a little bad about that, but I don't know. Well, it's a work in progress.
Meanwhile,
another Toa
he's like,
no, just nothing. So the other Toa were like, hey man, listen, look, you want to roll with us?
Literally just stared at him.
Yeah, he just stared at him and on a bike. And they're like, listen man, you want to roll with us, can't just go around killing stuff. It's not cool. And Toa Ignica's like, he's thinking, he's like, I mean, I guess. And so they fly their way into the Makuta base, and there is another Makuta there named Makuta Mutran. He is a scientist Makuta, and he's like, oh, what's up, guys? What's going on? He's like, oh, they're like, we're here for the the Tridax Shadow. We're here to get the leeches. We're gonna kill the leeches. Okay?
leeches.
And Makuta Mutran is just like, oh man, you're here for that? Oh, but don't go in the back there. That's where we keep all of them. Don't go back there. And they're like, obvious trap is obvious, but we're going anyway. So all of the Toa start going down and this hallway, and they just keep going, and all of a sudden they realize that the Toa Igniter is not with them. They're like, oh, where could we have gone? And they turn around, and there's a giant, massive tentacle worm beast behind them that is just like repelling all of their attacks they're trying to do, and just all of a sudden like causing all of the Toa just immense amounts of pain and just crumpling them over. Because it's not actually a giant, like, 80-foot-long tentacle worm sky beast. It's actually the Toa Igniter. And Makuta Neutron has used his illusions and stuff to make them think that and turn on them. And because Toa of Life is like, hey, dude, that's not cool. You can't attack me. That's not cool, man. That's not cool, man. You gotta die for that. I'm sorry. And then they were like, oh, reality kind of phases in and out, and they realize it. And they're like, wait, no, sorry, we didn't mean it. We didn't mean it. No, stop. Sorry, man. We're sorry. We thought you were a giant monster. And Toa Igniter just. And so they're like, all right, well, I guess that means we got tricked. Let's go back. So they go back to the front, and by that point, the other Makuta have joined up. So now there's 4 Makuta here. Antros, Chirox, and Gavla, I think? I'm trying to remember what her name was. I think that's what it was. And Neutron, which, by the way, Neutron has sent his little sidekick, Lackey Matoran, to go get Makuta Icarax from the home base on Destral. It's at this point that the Makuta start engaging the Toa in battle, and it goes very poorly for the Toa, who all end up imprisoned and in chains, and also the Matoran they were with. This is not really great. Neutron makes his way back to Destral, the teleporting home base island of the Brotherhood of Makuta, goes in, gets walked into the throne room, and led where he's supposed to find Makuta Icarax. Icarax is sitting on the throne wearing the Mask of Shadows that was Scary Terry's mask. And he's like, oh man, Makuta Icarax, why are you wearing the mask? Oh, is he taking over now? Oh, and Makuta Icarax just like grabs him by the throat and he's like, shut up! He's like, oh my god, what do you want? Stupid Matoran, what do you want? And he's like, oh man, please don't kill me, man. Oh, hamburgers, man. So he throws him against the wall. He's like, look, I could kill you right now, but the fact that you came here with tablet transmittings must be something really important for you to come all the way over here and talk to me. What is it? He's like, oh, Neutron needs you to come to Cardanui. You got Toa here. He needs your help. He needs you to fight. And Icarax's like, ha, Neutron thinks he can order me around. Me, Icarax, big bad boy. I have a spooky shadow mask on. Ha, you know what? Fine. You know what? You know what? Not even an issue. I'm gonna go to Cardanui. I'm gonna beat up everyone, and then no one can tell me what to do. So they fly back over. They fly back over to Cardanui, and meanwhile the Toa are in chains, and the Neutron is like, hey, cool, I got these shadow leeches and stuff. I'm gonna do weird science to you with these shadow leeches, Toa. I'm gonna make Toa a shadow. Wouldn't that be super cool? And also, if you guys try to do anything, I'm just gonna kill these Matoran. That's great. And one thing leads to another. The Toa start using their powers. They manage to escape. They start fighting the Makuta. They make their way back out into the air. They're all having a good old time fighting. Makuta Icarax shows up too, starts batting them away. He's kind of turning the tides. Toa Igniter shows up, and he's like, all right, this is all me. He goes in and starts fighting Makuta Icarax. And we talked before about how the Makuta are no longer like bioorganic mechanical beings. They're like a gaseous energy that just inhabits suits of armor. And so the Toa Igniter is fighting Makuta Icarax and goes, hey, Lamau, and devolves him back into his organic state.
Oh.
His armor is way too small to facilitate this. And all of a sudden, he's just in excruciating amounts of pain because he is just basically locked into a suit of armor that's 8 times too small. And it's just being crushed, and he's like, ah! And they're like, whoa, what was that? That's wild. One thing leads to another. I mean, this fight goes on there. Icarax starts talking to the Toa Igniter because it realizes that it is the Mask of Life, and Makuta's just Icarax is just kind of laughing, and basically starts to explain that Hell, you think you're a Toa? You think you're so great? Yeah, it ain't great. You're not afraid of nothing. You're just a mask. People use masks all the time. Not a big deal. Ha! You don't even know. You don't even know why your mask is silver now, do you, dummy? It's been gold. It's not gold anymore. It's silver now, dummy. Don't you know what that is? That's because you're a countdown timer to the death of the universe. Oh, guess what? Mask of Life, turns out, is a... the great beings created the Mask of Life to be able to be used to resurrect Motunui or save him from turmoil if that was going to be an issue. But also, if the universe was ever brought to a point where it was irredeemably destroyed or fundamentally broken, the Mask of Life would be used as a doomsday countdown, from which it would turn from gold to silver and then finally to black, at which point it would just absorb all life energy from the entire universe and kill everything. Super sick.
You're the worst.
So man, all of a sudden the stakes got really high, like even higher than they already were. So the Toa that have been flying around in the air, they've got their keystones. They can pick it up from Matoran and fight Makutas. Down below in the swamp, where Swamp Secrets is happening. Swamp Secrets is actually divided into two segments. Swamp Secrets is half the book is what the Toa Nuva are doing down in Swamp Secrets, and the other half is the beginning of the time-traveling misadventures of Light Takanuva. So what we're going to mostly just talk about how everything that Toa Nuva do, and then we'll talk about the stuff that Takanuva does, because that's where we'll start getting into a lot more of the serials. Like I said, 2008 is super dense, and I'm going to be trying to really push through a lot of this. Because it gets so dense, and I'm just going to try and skim through stuff here and there to really kind of push this through. So, the Toa, Tahu, Tahu, Onua, and Gali Nuva are down in the swamps, right? So they're fighting around. They're trying to figure out where they need to be looking for this massive life. They're just kind of like, man, don't go into that mutagenic looking swamp. I've seen some monsters go in there, and it didn't turn out really good. Guys, we've got hover jets on our legs and stuff now. Just don't fall in the water. We'll be fine. So they're scanning around looking for everything. Turns out, there is 3 more Makuta that are hanging around down here. They're slowly, silently kind of stalking their prey. Toa Tahu Nuva finds this giant metal sphere in the middle of this swamp. They're like, wow, that doesn't look out of place at all. That's probably really important. I wish I could remember what that is. I feel like I've been here before. Oh, that was another thing. Since you guys missed it. Yeah, apparently Toa Nuva at some point had been in Cardanua before. Way, way, way back at the beginning of the universe. They have no memory of this at all. Some of the Matoran do. We find out that Takua was a Matoran of light, and that he also worked there as well, and that there are apparently still some OG Toa fanboys hanging out. Anyway, as this happened, a Makuta rises out of the swamp. He's like a skeletal looking bug. He's like a skeletal stick bug. Makuta. He comes out. Yes, Chris?
Toy?
Yes, I did make a toy of it. Unfortunately, I do not have a toy of that Makuta because for whatever reason, we just didn't get any of the Winter 2008 sets. So, we missed out on all, so it was divided between the Fantoka line, which is all, the in-the-air stuff, and the Mystica line, which is all in the swamp stuff. And we just missed all of the stuff in the swamp stuff. Yes, Zach?
How many years has it been since 2008?
At the time of this, 12.
No, right now.
Yeah, at the time of this, right now, it's been 12 years since 2008.
12 years to buy it, and you still haven't bought it.
Listen, I can agree with you, and I started to, correct these mistakes starting this year by purchasing Tahu Nuva and Gali Nuva with their adaptive armor, Onua Nuva, as well as Makuta Gorast, but I haven't gotten around to getting Makuta Bittel or Krika or Gali Nuva yet because I've had other sets that I wanted to get before them because they were more important.
There's so many fucking sets.
There's so many fucking sets.
There's so many fucking sets.
There's so many fucking sets. Bionicles is also really weird in that all the older sets just are fucking pennies. Doesn't even it's oh, you want original Toa Mata can you want original Toa, you can get them for $6, $7, $8 each, MSRP almost prices. Whereas oh, you want this Toataku Nuva from the Mystica line from 2008 that came in way later? Yeah, we're gonna run that like 2-3 times MSRP. Like, we need like $25.
Everybody liked us by then.
And I guess they're like, well, these ones are just better, so whatever. But this would be how it do. Honestly, I think it has more to do with that all the parts of 2008 are just, once again, dog shit. So people were like, hey, I need to buy replacement parts. Like, you guys got anything? Get Lego ain't making them.
Yet.
Yeah, not anymore.
You can't 3D print it yet?
So there's a difference between 3D printing and like ABS plastic. It is like,
Yeah.
well, there are 3D printers. There's a 3D printing scene for Bionicle, but it is mostly for like masks and making different masks or like different variations on them. But no one's really found like a good alternative to make like actual like joint pieces and stuff because it uses ABS molded plastic versus like just the 3D print stuff, which has less. It's not as sturdy for the same application. Is the best way I can kind of explain it there. But there are people who are absolutely just waiting to see if they can find like a good mixture of something to do that. So, Swamp Secrets. Where are we? Yeah, Krika shows up. He's just walking around with a stick bug, Makuta, and starts having a chit chat with Tahu Nuba, and he's like, "Hey, you're a Makuta." He's like, "Yeah, I'm Makuta. I'm a Makuta. You're a Toa." He's like, "Hey, man, listen. Like, we don't really have to do this. We don't really have to fight. Like, you just tell me where the Mask of Life is, and it doesn't have to be like this." And he's like, "Yeah, it's like, fat chance telling you anything, Makuta. Yeah, you and your kind have done so much damage and stuff, and you harming all the Matoran and stuff." And Krika makes an interesting. Krika is a Makuta who makes a lot of really interesting observations that are so very unlike all the other Makuta. First off, he wears the Mask of Repulsion, which allows him to just repel things. It's basically just force pushes everything, which means that he can achieve temporary flight by just repelling the ground away from him. Very kind of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe, just repelling the ground away from him, fly at the ground, or whatever. But when he talks about stuff, he has like a weird amount of insight because he basically talks to Totahu and is explaining that there's a reason that Makuta hate Toa so much, and that is because Toa are so pure in their beliefs that they are what Makuta cannot be. They are heroes without the want for recognition or power or accolades or anything like that. They do good things purely for the justice of it. They don't do that out of their own self-interest, which is unfortunate, which is unlike what Makuta do, and which is why, and because of that, they get revered and Makuta don't, which is why Makuta hate Toa, which is unfortunately why he has to die. Yes.
See, I thought it was because, back in the day when Makuta was still in high school, he dated a Toa. And they were getting hot and heavy, and that Toa broke his heart. And ever since then, he was like, I'm going to destroy the entire galaxy.
Maybe he met a few Toa along the way. But maybe he met a few Toa, helped them along the way, and he told them, like, hey guys, I really like you, help me out. Don't come to the universe tomorrow.
Just be sick.
Just be stay home, man. Don't come to the universe tomorrow.
What'd you say?
So,
You were always nice to me.
you always nice to me. I always appreciate that. You give me candy bars. So he goes on, and as he's been talking up this entire time, he has just been absorbing and just been sending out ice through the swamp and just draining all of Toa because he's too busy talking. And this feeling like, oh man, I'm getting really drained. He's gonna get me. What do? I know. I'm just gonna signal a giant fire flare and call for help. Points a shield spinner thing up in the air. Shoots out a giant fireball into the sky as a signal. At the same time, Onua has been in ambush and is fighting a Makuta named Biddle. Biddle is a Makuta that wears the mask of what's it called? The mask of time duplication, I believe it is what it's called. Basically, he's just walking around with a bunch of clones of himself all around him, and they're just piling on, trying to fight Onua, and Onua's just grabbing someone in a headlock and punching him in the head, and he's chit-chatting around and asking, how is this possible, whatever, and comes to learn that the massive time duplication means that what Bithel does is he just grabs copies of himself from a bunch of different points in time and he drags them all together to fight in there. The problem is, whenever they will return back to their original time, they will have no recollection of what has happened. And 2, any injuries they sustained during that period, they will also carry back with them. And this is like this is the beginning of all sorts of universal dimensional time fuckery that we are about to start getting into. Because they've opened up this possibility, and now we go, okay, well, what happens if one of them in the past kills the one does all the ones forward just stop, or is that a different universe, or does time, I don't know. They don't really talk about it. It's not really important. Who cares? He's a Makuta. Who cares? Anyway, Onua ends up just beating the dog slobber out of Bithel, because at the same time, Galinuva has found one of the keystones, because there's going to be 6 of them, because of course, they're going to find one for each of them.
Can you collect them? Can you
you
them?
can't, unfortunately. You cannot,
Jesus.
unfortunately. You can't collect these keystones. I don't know why they didn't call them Mukoki stones this time. They're like, Mukoki is the word for keystone. I'm like, okay, well, what are these? These are keystones. I'm like, how is this any different?
We're trying to move away.
Move away from things that suggest, specific white powders that aren't on the slopes of Mount Iu. So goes and uses some water to make some fists to pull apart some vines, and he's gonna go grab this, and all of a sudden Makuta Gorast shows up. Makuta Gorast looks like a giant mosquito. I mean, here we go. Literally, it's just Makuta Gorast. It's like, there's actually supposed to be 2 more claws up here because it's 4 arms, but whatever. They've fallen off somewhere. Yeah, Makuta Gorast just flying around, doing things, being a Makuta. It's got a little needle stinger thing. I don't know.
What's up with his feet?
Yeah, there's that weird little weird feet. Little bird foot. I don't know, it's freaking weird, man. It's freaking weird, man. I don't
He's
like
self-conscious about it, Sasha.
Sorry.
I don't like it very much.
So go have bad green joints and weird feet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh man, that is
he does.
absolutely. It's really
Yeah. Double whammy.
not coming up. Also, Gorast is the only female Makuta we've met this entire time.
Boobs?
No. I mean, unless you like mosquito boobs. No.
Called small boobs mosquito bite.
Fair. If you can't really tell them that they're there, it doesn't mean that they aren't. Makuta Gorast is like, I'm just evil. I'm just fucking evil. That's my entire motivation. I just like being evil. I have no other motivation. I was literally one of the first people who sided with Scary Terry when we overthrew Mizrex. I just like doing evil things. And Onua shows up.
That's why feet.
I know, right? Onua shows up and, commits some fucking gender violence on her. She's a golly Onua.
God damn it.
I know. Well, I'm just saying, I mean, she had it coming to her.
Holy shit.
And the ratings suddenly took a turn.
We can't post this video, unfortunately.
There's a whole chunk missing, man.
Oh, man.
I don't know. 2008 was dead.
2008
but
was a
there's
weird
nothing
year.
there.
2008, never know what happened. So after that, because Galinuva is talking to Gorast and is like, yeah, also, by the way, the entire time I've been talking to you and you've been standing in this mud, I've just lowered the density, or I've increased the density of the water in the mud. And there's all of a sudden Gorast just falls into the mud and never to be seen again. Or will she? No, she's gonna come back. Because she flies right back out. And Galinuva was like, oh, did she just actually commit suicide? Because she was like, well, fuck you, Galinuva. Like, you can't put me underwater. I'll put myself underwater. Yeah, it was weird. Gorast is not great by any means. Anyway, So the three Toa, Nuva, they all meet back up together, and they go help Todd get rid of Krika. It just sends a lot of fire, makes the water boiling, and Krika is like, yo, this shit's too hot, I'm out, and bounces. And the Toa end up finding the keystones, realizing that a lot of this stuff was traps and stuff, and they get together. And at the same time, we get the battle from before with all the stuff in the air that's like dipping down into the swamp. Igarax gets blasted down. Pohatu Nuva throws a whole ass stalactite at one of the Makuta and just boom, sets him plummeting down. I think he hits Chirox with it or something like that. And the other three Makuta that were in the swamp move together to kind of intercept that and catch that. And the Makuta disperse for now because they need to figure out what's going on. The six Toa meet back up together, and they're like, okay, cool. So here's the thing: we've got this like Toa Ignika dude. He's doing around like he's the mask of life. And we need to find whatever we need. And Tahu's like, okay, that big metal spear thing, that's called the Kodrex. That's what we need to do. Big metal, it's important. It's called the Kodrex. We're gonna need to get in there. How do we get in there? It's like, oh, they're probably keystones or something. That's probably what these keystones are for. We're like, cool. Let's get these keystones. Let's go do the Kodrex. At the same time, like 13 Avmatorans show up and are like, here, Toa, we can lead you to the waves or whatever. This, that, whatever. We got something really important to tell you. So 13 Matoran like gather up the Toa Nuva and bring them off the side and they're like, hey, look, listen. When Montanui awakens, there's gonna be horrible, crazy lightning storms. Everything's gonna get destroyed. So you need to get to the Kodrex. You need to get in there. It's the only place that's gonna be safe for you guys. And they're like, okay, well, how did you give us the information? Where'd you get it from? And they're like, that's not really important, but like, you're achieving your destiny. This is great. And at that moment, all 13 of these Abmatoran shapeshift into Bohrok. They just evolve into Bohrok. And they just sit there. And they're like, what? And then the Bohrok just teleport out of existence. To be brought, presumably, back to... Because one of them is just taking its time. It's like, oh yeah, so no, that's just the way things are, man. Just Abmatoran, like, when they achieve their destiny, they just turn into Bohrok. And then they'll be teleported away to a Bohrok nest. And they'll have Krana put on them. So, yeah, it's just weird. That's just how things work, man. And then he turns into a Bohrok and teleports, and all the Toa are like... This raises a lot of really questionable implications.
Yeah.
Because one, that means that the Bohrok are Matoran. And two, that means we've killed a lot of Matoran.
We've murdered so
Oh
many.
no. And they all have that realization. They're like,
This is like Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
this is the holiday
this is.
special.
I told you there wasn't going to be a lot of genocide. I promised it. And here it is. And this is where we learned that Mavra, that only Matoran from like way back in like Bionicle Adventure book 4 or 5 or whatever, the one with all the Rocky on the way that he was like, yeah, maybe Bohrok were like a biomechanical thing, and then they evolved into just a mechanical thing. Turns out he was right all along. Weird. He had the foresight and nobody else did. Too bad he's dead. And so the Toa go on to start trying to get towards this Kodrex thing. At the same time, in the Swamp of Secrets, Takanuva is hanging around in Metro Nui, patrolling, doing his thing, because the Toa Nuva have gone missing. Nobody knows where they are. They kind of vaguely know that the universe isn't going to die. They know that the Toa Mari have come back, but Takanuva is just patrolling the streets, and all of a sudden, from the air, he gets attacked by shadow leeches. Oh no! And they start absorbing his light, and he's like, fuck! And falls over and dies. Except that he doesn't, because he wakes up in deep, deep underground in the archives. In what he has only been told of, he's like, man, this place fucking stinks of like death. Where am I? Oh, I'm on an examination table. That's not good. So Takanuva gets up and he's like, whoa, what's going on here? And all of a sudden, out of the shadows comes a female water Toa with a mace and a shield. She's like, sup, dude? You're Takanuva, Toa of Light? Hey, I got a mission for you. And he's like, well, that's cool and all, but I don't just take random requests from strange Toa I've never met before. She's like, cool, it's a good thing it's not a request. Grabs Takanuva, just choke slams him against the wall. She's like, listen up, dummy. There's some real bad shit going on in the universe. We're a group out there that's trying to stop that. So I need you to, like, stop being dumb for 3 seconds. I'm gonna help you out. And he's like, oh man, I must be daydreaming. He slams his head against the wall again, and he's like, still daydreaming? You sure about that? Or are you gonna shut up and listen? Talking to him, I was like, oh, funny, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, what? What do you want me to do? Rex goes, cool. So, I'm gonna need you to put on this thing. And he's like, what? Grabs the giant worm thing. This Cortanos, that thing we saw way, way back when you can see the future or whatever, and just slaps it on his face.
Oh.
I don't know why that was.
Many Genoese.
I don't know why that was the sound effect I went for.
This got into the risky times of
Oh no!
the Bionicle universe.
So all of a sudden, Takanuva is now seeing memories from 100,000 years ago, and he is transported into the scene where it is this dark room with metal walls, and there are 6 tables all in this 6 tables all in this room that are like, what are they called? Those elevation tables or whatever they're called. And on each of them is a figure in red, white, green, blue, black, and brown. And all of a sudden, one by one, these individual figures start to wake up. And they kind of come to, and one by one, they kind of look at like the manacles that are holding them to the table, and they each individually find some way to get out of them, whether it's melting them or freezing them so much they shatter or whatever. And all of a sudden, these 6 strangers are standing around in the room, and they're all like, all right, guys, anybody got any ideas? What's going on here? And all of a sudden, a voice starts speaking in the room off like an intercom system or something. And it's the voice of Toa Helrix saying, all right, guys, here's the deal. You all are Toa. Pohat, and they're like, your name is, Tahu, your name is Onua, Kopaka, Liwa, Gali, you guys are going to be Toa. And Pohatu is like, oh, sweet, I always wanted to be a Toa. What the fuck is a Toa? And they're like, okay, so Toa is, you're going to be these elemental protectors, and you're going to have to go around, and Toa just means the word hero. You guys are going to be heroes. And Pohatu's like, cool, always wanted to be a hero. Okay, I'm a Toa, that's great. Alright, so here's the deal, you all have elemental powers you'll be able to use, and you're going to use those to defend the Matoran, and, do Machanui as well. And they're like, okay. And they're like, also, Tahu's going to be your leader. And all of them immediately are like, I don't know about that one. Kopaka's like, yeah, how do we know, he's not, just some super headstrong, brash idiot who's going to get into thing? And Gali's like, yeah, how do we know that he's actually suited and qualified to be a leader, and that, he just won't listen or be able to cooperate and work with everybody else? And Lee was like, yeah, and what if he's just a jerk? Just gets right to the point. And Tahu is just like, I'll fucking kill you all. But the voice was like, yeah, don't care. Tahu's your leader. That's just how things are. And they're like, well, we didn't vote on him. I'm like, yeah, we don't get to. So they're like, so what are we doing here? And they're like, well, you guys are going to be here training and becoming strong in the event that you're ever needed to come save the universe or whatever. It's like, okay, sure. They're like, what are these weird things? Like, oh, these masks. And one of them takes off the mask and all of a sudden feels really tired. Like, oh, fuck. It's like, help me put that mask back on. They're like, oh, yeah, don't take off your mask, dummy. You'll lose a lot of your power if you do. Also, the masks have cool new powers. We'll teach you how to use those too. Flash forward, and once again, this is all interspersed between all the stuff they're talking about in Swamp Secrets, as far as what's going on with the Toanuva. So we're getting cuts back and forth between Toanuva doing stuff, Takanuva having hallucinations, Toanuva doing stuff, Takanuva viewing past events that happened 100,000 years ago that nobody else was there for, apparently. Just weird, I don't know. So we see through this event that the Toa the Toa Mata were originally brought together and trained 100,000 years ago on the island of Artaka, I think it was. Yeah. Where they were trained by Hydraxin, the underwater boomerang knifey boy that catches prisoners. Get back here, runner. Apparently he was there, and he was the one actually training all the Toa Mata in combat. And also would set up different tasks for them to do, different training things like, hey, cool, today, Gali, you need to learn how to collect masks. All of you will have to learn, we're going to be training things where, maybe you don't have Kanohi masks. Maybe you're going to need to find some, they're not in abundance. We'll teach you how to just be able to, find them in jungles and stuff. I don't know. Maybe this will become useful. Basically, this entire thing is just to validate why a lot of why were there masks just hiding underwater in caves or like in the middle of like a fire pit? Like, why was all that in like year one? Like, what was a lot of that all about? This entire book, as far as talking about, is pretty much just used to like validate all that stuff about how, yeah, you guys are probably gonna have to find masks sometimes. Maybe nobody has. Maybe you'll have to find out how to do things if you don't have your masks. Or like, oh no, there's masks underwater. What will you do? You know, different stuff, different combat training mask stuff.
It's what heroes do.
And it's what heroes do. It's a training montage. There's a whole thing. There's a whole thing where Hydraxon gets all the Toa and basically tells them, hey, your mask is in whatever, but it is in such a place that it would be really impractical for them to be able to get it from themselves. For example, Liwa is like, man, I hate water. I hate water so much. I always hated water. Even in the future, I'll probably really hate water. There's this mask I have to get. It's underwater. I don't have a mask of water breathing. How am I going to get this thing? And Liwa starts walking around at one point. And he sees a Golly is just like having trouble. Like, there's a mask way, way, way up in some trees, and she's trying to like throw some water at it or something to see if she can knock it down, but she's not helping at all. And Liwa kind of just, it clicks for him that, oh shit, I can help this chick out. Just use some air, wind, and helps her get the mask. And she was like, wait, why are you doing that? You know, like, aren't we all supposed to be finding our mask? And Liwa was like, yeah, but Hydraxon never said that we couldn't help each other. I think that's the entire point of this, actually, is that none of us thought that we could actually work together to help each other accomplish our own tasks.
And that's the whole point.
And that's the whole point, isn't it? Hydraxon's like...
And then a spear jumps through her skull, and she's like, "No, you get your own."
But yeah, it turns out that's the thing there. And so, eventually, all the Toa are still just, you know, they're going to training, whatever, and then one day, Kopaka and Tahu are walking along cliffside at night together. Very romantic. But Tahu and Kopaka are kind of had enough of this. They're like, they won't tell us what our mission actually is. They aren't telling us why we're here or what our mission is supposed to be. So we're going to go into that giant fortress where their leaders are and stuff, and we're going to find out. And Tahu and Kopaka just, boom, bust in there. They're going around and just trying to, they're semi-sneaking, just like chaos. And they make their way to where Toa Helrix is. And they're like, look, we have a right to know why we were brought into this, what we're supposed to be doing, what our mission is, what we're training, what are we here for? And Toa Helrix goes, okay, guys, sure, I will give you all that knowledge. And now you're going to be burdened with it. And you can't tell anyone. So we'll go ahead and take a quick break here for now, and meet back in a second. And we're back. We're back to Bionicle Book Learning Time.
Do you need to clap again?
Swamp of Secrets, and
The slap of secrets.
So after all of this happens, so the Tahu and Kopaka go to meet Helrix, we flash forward to the Toa Mata are now in Cardinui. They're helping all the Matoran here because the Matoran are trying to set up some villages and stuff. They've been doing work on things and stuff, but unfortunately, giant lightning snakes have shown up, known as the Avoca. And down below, where, yes.
Toys?
They do not make toys.
Ooh.
Yes.
They're not on a plane, are they?
Huh?
The
The
snakes?
lightning snakes.
No, just in the sky.
Just making sure.
Down below, where there is a swamp in today times, there's actually a vast desert instead. And so the Toa Mata have just been working with the Matoran and protecting them from these giant lightning snakes. Tahu and Liwa have been bringing up sandstorm and trapping lightning snakes in glass, because that's a thing they can do, I guess. And finding different ways to kill like ethereal lightning snakes, however that happens.
Shove a grenade up that.
Yeah, I guess. Nova Blast. Eventually they meet a Matoran who's kind of weird. His name is Takua. Oh, wonder where we're going to meet that guy again. And he says that he's going to be a Toa one day. Yo, right, kid. Good luck with that. Whatever, kid. Yo, right. They all, the Toa finish helping the Matoran do whatever work they're supposed to be doing here, and then they all move up. All these Matoran move up to the higher ceiling of this dome that they're in, and they built some villages there. And because their work's completed, it's at this time that Tahu and Kopaka go, all right, there's this giant metal sphere over here. All right, guys, that's where we need to go next. And the other two are like, okay, sure. What's all this about then? And before this, Tahu had been talking to Kopaka about what they had learned, and Kopaka was like, are you really just going to do this? Are we really just going to get everybody in the sphere and not tell them anything? And Tahu's like, we don't really have a choice, man. We just got to do our duty. He's like, don't you think they should know what's going to happen?
Time for knowing is rough.
Time for knowing, yeah. And so Tahu's like, they'll learn one way or another, but this is what we've been tasked with. And Kabaka's like, all right. So they get all the Toa into the sphere. As soon as they walk in, whoom, closes up behind them. Like, hey, what's going on? And Tahu and Kabaka are like, all right, guys, here's the rub. We completed our task, sealing up these Evoca and stuff, and behind you, everyone, is 6 giant metal canisters. And now, we're all going to climb into these and just sleep until we're eventually needed. And immediately, all of the other Toa are like, the what now? We're like, well, hold on, man. And so they immediately start trying to find ways to open the doors. Like, guys, there is no way out. Like, we are stuck here. As soon as he's like, lightning storms are about to be starting up outside, and when it happens, everything that is out there is going to be vaporized. If you went out there now, you would just be turned to dust. So our only option is to stay here, get in the canisters, and sleep until we're summoned. And the Toa, one by one, kind of reluctantly understand the position that Tahu and Kopaka were put in by having this knowledge beforehand and being the leader and technically deputy leader of their group. And Onuma's like, I really disagree with everything about as far as gone on, but I don't know if I can fault you for how things were done. So, all right, so they all start getting in. Pohaku's like, yeah, well, I'd probably use a nap anyway. And hops up into his canister and the lid seals on it there. And Liwa goes up to Tahu, who's like, all right, you little fire shit. He's like, you and me are going to have a really long talk about all this when we wake up. And crawls in there too, and they all sleep. But unfortunately, over time, the canisters would have an effect that would kind of wipe some of their memory as far as like where they actually trained at and who they were being trained by, because those are kind of top secret confidential stuff. But unfortunately, as the millennia would go on and they got shot into the ocean after the Great Cataclysm, when they were summoned, their pods malfunctioned and caused the memory loss to be a lot more severe, which is why they have a lot more amnesia and stuff. So now they're starting to try and get... So now the Toa Nuva are getting a little bit of their memory back here and there. And Takanuva sees all this and like rips this. He's like, oh wow, I saw all of that happen. Okay, and now what? And Helrix goes, all right, look. The Toa Nuva are in Cardanuva right now. They don't know anything of what you just saw. Which means they don't know that when they awaken Matanuvi, these lightning storms are going to come back and destroy everything. And that they need to be in the Kodrex when this happens. So you need to go to Cardanui and get there. And he's like, okay, cool. How am I going to get there? A canister? And she's like, no, dummy. No canister's going to be able to get you there fast enough. I got something faster. Here's one of our other members of the Order of Matanui. You could say he's on probation. And all of a sudden, walks up, Brutaka! Brutaka shows up, but he's wearing a giant fishbowl on his head because he's a water breather now. And he's just kind of hanging around. He's got little fins in the dorsal fin and spikes and shit. He's got mutated.
Is there a new toy of him?
No, there is not. There is no new toy of Hydro Taka. Great misstep. So Takanuva was like, wait a second, I know the description of this dude. He's that asshole who tried to fight all the Toamari and take the Master Life for himself and work with Baraka. He's like, you guys really trust him? And Toa Helrix just backhands the shit out of Takanuva and goes, listen here, you little dick ass. We're at war. We're at a war right now. We don't have the luxury of getting to choose who our allies are. And right now, she's like, I would ally with every Dark Hunter in Vizrak if it meant I could destroy the Makuta, Brotherhood of Makuta. We don't. So yeah, we're taking some unsavory vows, but I trust him, and you don't have a choice. So here we go. And he's like, okay, what am I gonna do? He's opening a portal for you. I'm gonna send you to Cardanuva. Takanuva goes, I guess. Fine. And so Brutaka opens up a portal with his Kanohi Olmec, which is kind of damaged in some places, not looking like it's all together right now.
So is that portal really on the up and up?
So Takanuva just jumps through the portal and flies into this dimensional gates or whatever. Unfortunately for him, kind of fucked up because Mask was there, and so didn't send him to Cardanuva. And this is where we're going to get into the time traveling misadventures of Takanuva, starting with so briefly discussing what these serials were. Mutant Chronicles. Remember when I did that whole big lore dump on how the Makuta came into being, how they were made of antidermis, how there was 100 Makuta made, and there was like 15 females, like 85 males, and they had the convocation to see who would be the leader of Makuta, all that stuff. All that is the Mutant Chronicles. It's literally just a complete thing of Mutran, the Makuta Mutran, writing a diary, giving a detailed history of the Brotherhood of Makuta from the time that they basically, so some things I forgot to mention in that real quick. Originally, Makuta were made to be kind of like just make all the Rocky in the universe and stuff, and then after a while, Matanui created the Bohrok-Kal as to be the leader, to be warlords and kind of rule over some realms, and then they kind of bullied the Brotherhood of Makuta into going along with this because they just had giant armies. The Brotherhood of Makuta did not have giant armies, and so that's how the Bohrok-Kal were able to build up their empire larger and larger to get to the point where they're like, we're going to betray, we're going to become, we're going to be the big guys now, which is why eventually the Makuta, kind of just crushed them. Just squish them. And at one point, after all of this, they made Makuta Pterodax the leader, the Makuta guardian of Metronui, and all the other Makuta would go to different islands as well and watch over there. We have Zakaz, which is the place where the Paraka are from. Zaya, the place where the Vortex are from, like Rudaka, Titibon, that's where she's from. They had, the island of Artaka had a Makuta there, Makuta Kojal. Mutran, I believe, was the Makuta of the Trencron Peninsula, I think. I can't remember for sure, but basically they all had like their own island, different regions, which they would spit out to. And at one point, before Scary Terry took over the Brotherhood of Makuta, Makuta Mizrex, who was the original leader, was like, hey, Trencron, I need you to go check out this thing called Mutran, I need you to go check out these rumors on a mysterious being called Trencron, who is supposedly some super crazy, weird thing, and I just need you to see if he's going to be a threat to the universe. So Mutran went to some island and met Trencron, which could only be described as an eldritch abomination nightmare that reached out and touched Mutran's mind and broke him a little bit. And because there was an exchange of information, Mutran all of a sudden understood like vast complexities and intricacies of the universe beyond normal comprehension and understanding, which made him a little crazy. And it is also because of this that, one, Mutran learned how the Brotherhood of Makuta would be. He learned of the facilities that they would be able to use to overthrow Matanui in the first place and put him in that comatose state. And also, way back when the Bohrok woke up, Mutran found out that the Bohrok swarms, one, existed, and two, were awakened by a sonic signal, and found out what that sonic signal was. So essentially, they could just summon Bohrok whenever they wanted to, which is why Makuta was able to awaken the hive way back, even though the proper signal for the Bohrok to awaken wasn't sent. So that's what we pretty much learned in that. But Takanuva's stuff starts in the Dark Mirror. Is it Dark Mirror?
Is it Black Mirror?
No, I'm sorry. The Kingdom. The Kingdom is the first one. Or technically, there's one other one on here. I forgot to put it on there, but Takanuva falls through a dimension, and he meets these beings called Castora. Castora, they kind of look like Proto-Matoran, like this more like primitive versions of them. And they say that there's this monster that's been, fighting their town or something, and he needs to go defeat this monster. And Takanuva ends up beating up this Rahi, and then it turns out no, the Castora actually were just invading its space, and now they've built a fortress, and it's invaded this animal's habitat or whatever, and Takanuva fucks them up, and it's really inconsequential. And then like a ghostly visage of Toa the Khan's mask is like, get in the portal or something, and he jumps through another portal. So now he goes through another thing, which will lead us to the Dark Mirror. I'm sorry, no, the Kingdom. That's the one that comes first. The Kingdom, where Takanuva arrives on the island of Motunui. Suddenly, this is weird. This is really weird. What's that? Looks over the island of Motunui. It's massive, boys! Giant super buildings all over the island. It's not super, lush jungle volcano place. It's buildings everywhere. Huge buildings. Oh, wow, it's so big. The island looks bigger than it used to be. What is going on? And what's that over there? There's vortex. There's a vortex. There's a Skakti selling some wares. He's like, come inside. Check out the pyramid of Visarak. Only 5 minutes.
What are you buying?
What you selling? Toa and Matoran going around working on stuff, and he's like, what is this place? And so you see the Gamatoran show up, and Gamatoran's like, hey, who are you, weird Toa I've never seen before? Also, because of the Shadow Leech attack, Takanuva's armor is no longer gold and white, it is gray and white. And also, Takanuva has some shadow powers. He can use shadow powers now. He's half and half. Spoopy. This will come into play later. And he goes, I'm Toa Takanuva. And she's like, you're not Takanuva. And he's like, what do you mean I'm not Takanuva? He's like, Takanuva doesn't look anything like you. He's got gold and white, dummy. And he's like, what? He's like, I'm sorry, I think I must have got confused. Where are we? I thought, and he's like, and Mommy's like, this is the kingdom. What do you mean? And Takanuva's like, hey, can you find, I need to get in touch with Jala. And Maki's like, I'm a friend of his, I got a word for him or something. And she's like, okay. It brings him through this town of all these different species and races, all living in this giant, metropolis city living on an island. It's really weird. Like, Dark Hunters are here, Vortex, or members of the Order of Motunui. This is a really weird thing. Anyway, goes over to Jala and he starts trying to talk to him about it. Turns out that, he's like, oh yeah, this is the kingdom. It's been like, because he's like, yeah, what happened to Motunui? I don't remember being as Motunui. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard people call this in 10,000 years, man. It's like, yeah, no, this is what. So after, he's like, basically explains that he is now in a universe where when Motunui died, Matoro hesitated and didn't put on the mask of life in time. And so by the time he was going to do it, he had already missed his opportunity to get down into Carbonui. Motunui died, and the Turaga had already made a contingency plan on this, and basically migrated up almost the entire universe worth of beings up onto the island of Motunui and had them start constructing more stuff and more land masses and more floating things to try and take up more and more and more space on the water to be able to fit everybody on this island. Unfortunately, there were some species that did not make it out because there's no way that you could just move everybody out in an instant. The Zyblack decided to stay down in the Matoran universe and die because they were like, we fucking hate Matoran. We would rather die than have to do anything with them. So they did. And also, Takanuva basically set up giant light shield barriers to keep all the Makuta back down in the Matoran universe so they couldn't come up. And so one thing leads to another. Takanuva gets an audience. He meets Toa Helrix, asks her a thing, gets an audience with Turaga Takanuva, because after that, Turaga Takanuva achieved his destiny and became a Turaga and made 6 new Toa, which were some of the fan favorites you've already seen before as Matoran, including Tanma, one of the Alpha Matoran from Cardanui, who becomes the new Toa of Light. Anyway, so apparently now this place is called the Kingdom, and it is ruled by a council consisting of Turaga Duma, Turaga Takanuva, the Shadowed One, leader of the Dark Hunters, Rudaka, Betrayal Tittybonk, one of the Ninra Ghost Matoran, who basically were like the private armor smiths of the Makuta, and the Prime Skakdi Warlord. And they just work together.
It's a sitcom.
It really is. Because Takanuva is just like looking at this like, what in the fuck? How? How does this make any sense? So he walks into a meeting with Turaga Takanuva is talking to Toa Tanma, and someone else. I can't remember who it was. But they're talking about that, yeah, man, we've been seeing Rakshi showing up, and they should be able to pass with light barriers, but there's a Rakshi that showed up, and we got our Dark Hunters, slice it up, this head is the only thing left. And Turaga Takanuva is like, oh, maybe that's weird. Maybe they just maybe it's a mistake. Maybe it just got out before we put up the light barriers or something. And at this point, Takanuva goes, well, I hear some of the light barriers are weakening. I kind of know a little bit about light myself. And everyone just looks at him, and Turaga Takanuva is like, hey, can everyone except that weirdo leave the room? I need to talk to him for a moment. So they all leave the room, and Turaga Takanuva is like, what's good myself? Dude, how can this be? You're me, you're here. And Takanuva's like, wait, you know that? He's like, yeah, of course I know this. Listen, Toa Helrix already told me what she would have had me do if Montanui had died.
I wasn't supposed to do that.
Oh, you're fine. She told me the whole contingency plan she was planning on if Montanui hadn't died, and what she would have me do. So you're here. That's crazy. Listen, kind of need your help though, since you're a Toa of Light and all. Kind of need your help if you can. And then after that, I'll be more than happy to help you see how we can get you on your way. Takanuva was like, sure, no problem, man, no problem, cool. But this is also apparently a universe where, while Matoro did not die, his name is almost scrubbed from history. Because he is seen as a coward that backed out at the last moment and doomed the entire universe.
Aww.
And so no one has seen him in like 6,000 years. Like, everyone just like spits when they say his name.
God.
Poor Matoro, dude. And so
All because he was like, I don't know.
he just didn't put on the mask fast enough. He was like 3 seconds past. All right, now I'll put it on. Just didn't do it. So anyway, Takanuva was like, all right, we'll take Tanma, Toe of Light, and we need to get Matoro. And Tanma was like, Matoro, hate that guy. What a fucking coward. Fucking the scourge on the name of Toa. And Takanuva was like, shut the fuck up. It's like, you don't even know. Because Takanuva this whole time is like weeping in his heart because he's like, Matoro died, but he lives in this universe and he's alive, and everyone treats him like shit. I want my friend to come back. They don't know.
They don't know what they have.
So they go up to Matoro's house, and Takanuva is like, hey, listen, we're going to do stuff. Hey, listen, Matoro, you're a hero, you're Toa, I need your help so you can be a hero of Toa. And I'm sorry that everyone treats you so bad, and you're a really good person, and I really believe in you, and it's not your fault, and that, you don't have to be so hard on yourself, and everyone should give you a lot more respect, treatment. And Matoro's like, who the fuck are you?
And then he leans in and starts making out.
And he's like, look, who are you? How do you know all that? Nobody talks about me like that. Nobody does. What's your deal? He's like, look, you missed out on being a hero before. He's like, come help us be a hero again. Redeem yourself. Before I was like, okay, sure. So they make their way into the wastes of Powahi, where they're like, the place is like by Kimi Nui, where the Mongai lair is, where Makuta was originally. It'd be too easy for Rakshi to come up and nobody see it. Or I'm sorry, and it would be hard for that to happen because it's so popular. But all like the Bohrok nests and stuff that are all in the waste of Powahi, that would be a pretty good place. So that's where they start to look. And they're looking around and they see all these light barriers up and they're like, all right guys, what do you think? And Tom was like, yeah, there's no way that anyone can get past these light barriers. There's no way that anyone can get past these light barriers. Like, maybe there's just some that, you know, were stuck here and they just didn't get sealed up. I think that's probably what happened. And Takanu was like, Motoro, what do you think? Motoro was like, maybe they found a way to get through the light barrier. Tom was like, no, dummy, stupid Ice Matoran, dumb, couldn't save the universe. He's like, there's no way that could happen. And Takanu was like, no, I think Motoro is right. He's like, yeah, what do you know, weirdo? And so they keep looking around, and all of a sudden, coming through this light barrier is like 4 Rakshi that are just covered in like armor of darkness. They've made their way, that the darkness protects them just long enough to get through the barrier of light, and then they're on the other side. And they're all fighting. Takanu, before this real quick, when Takanu showed up originally, one of the Toa came, or no, it was Axon. Axon came and was like, hey, no weapons in the city, civilian, and took his staff of light. So he was like, man, that's lame. So when he was talking earlier, before they went on this mission, he's like, man, I kind of need a new staff. And I'm like, cool, bet. They take him to a weaponsmith that gives him this thing called a power staff. And he's like, all right, now take this and use just the tiniest, smallest sliver or fragment of light, just enough to like illuminate something, and point the staff at the wall. He's like, okay, and explodes the wall. He's like, what? How does that? He's like, look, so most Toa tools only used to work as a conduit through which you can charge your elemental stuff. This staff is designed to power that shit up to 11. Also, I made a blaster. It can shoot light balls. Take that too. It's a prototype. I don't know what to call it though. And so talking to me was like, cool, sweet, this is pretty neat. So now he's just like, he's like two Rakshi, and he's like, oh, I'm going to point the staff at him, just vaporizes them in laser beams. And then, what is it? Tenma manages to push one of the Rakshi back into the barrier, just enough where the light is so concentrated it kills the Krata. Motoro freezes the other Rakshi, rips, busts into its like head case, and just rips out the Krata, throws it on the ground, and squishes it. And all of a sudden they hear this voice that's like, ah, good, Motoro. You always were so different. And they're like, are you kidding me? And it's like, yep, this voice of Makuta. And they're like, nope, it can't be like that. No, Makuta can't get in here. That's not how that works. All the Makuta, they got stuck. They all died. They all died on the ground. The light bearers kept them out. And then, at this point, Makuta basically goes, they're like, how can you be alive? And Makuta's like, yeah, so I just absorbed and killed all the other Makuta, and now I'm a giant 20-foot tall amalgamation of all of their bodies as some like living like corpse of horror. Yes, Chris?
Their corpse of horror toy?
No, Chris, not Chris. I'm sure you could make one though. I'm very
with
interested.
a bunch of
Yeah, I'd be very interested actually to see if someone made like an amalgamation of whatever that's supposed to look like, because you've got enough Makuta parts to make it happen. Anyway, so he's like, Motoro, you were supposed to save Motunui, and then I would take over, and you ruined everything for me, and my hatred has kept me alive, blah, blah, and like, whatever. And so, the 3 Toa get ready to fight Makuta. Makuta starts doing a little pew, shadow blast, whatever. And trying to remember exactly how this works, but like, Takanuva goes, boom, this laser blasts the Kanohi Kirkan off of Makuta's face, falls onto the ground. Tanma goes to run and try and pick it up or hit him or something, and Makuta just grabs him and uses his power of fragmentation or disintegration to just disintegrate a whole ass Toa. And it's like, oh, that's really bad. And Makuta like looks into Takanuva's mind. He's like, you're from a different universe. The plan. Still seems like it met its conclusion and went well on that side. So it all went work. That's interesting. Motoro died in your universe and Motoro's like, wait, I died? And he's like, that's what happened? And he was like, yeah. And so Motoro's like, man, fuck this. And just runs up at Makuta, and Takanuva's like, wait, no, don't do that. He's gonna grab you. And sure enough, Shadow Hand, cool. Grabs Motoro and just absorbs him. And he's like, doesn't matter. He's like, if I was supposed to die back then and I die now, what is the difference? Gets absorbed by Makuta. Takanuva is like, oh, this is really bad. Gets ready to just full on laser blast the shit out of him. And then Makuta just stops and starts convulsing. He's like, no, my will! Because apparently, long ago, Trogokamen said that when a Makuta absorbs another being, they have to crush that being's will immediately, or else that will be able to kind of fight for control over that. Motoro had also heard this and realized when he was absorbed by Makuta, that he just met there, that Makuta, all his beliefs, everything he'd been living for was a complete lie and fallacy, and he was living and existing just out of habit. Because he made this whole grand giant scheme, and when Montanui died, it ruined his entire scheme, and he had nothing to do. He had no backup plan for that. There's nothing he could do. And so he's just been living out of just habit, and Motoro was able to just break his will and become stronger, and then just self-destructed. And then Takenuma was like, all right, I'm going to go back to everyone, and hey, everybody, so this is all what happened. Sorry you guys are down to Toa. Also, Motoro is a fucking hero and a legend, and you should give him the goddamn respect he deserves. Make a monument to him right now. He managed to save the day in the end. And they're like, okay, cool, I guess. Well, here's Brutaka, open up a portal. Here you go. We don't know where you're going, but here you go. And Takenuma just jumps through the next portal until he lands in Metro Nui in the Dark Mirror. The Dark Mirror is where Takenuma falls out of the sky, wakes up. Wow, he's in Metro Nui. This is weird. It looks like Metro Nui. Maybe I'll just walks around, finds a Matoran, bumps into the Matoran, is like, oh no, I'm sorry, great Toa warrior. Sorry, I did not mean to disrupt you like this. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, it's fine. I was just walking around. And he's like, yes, you're just walking around in your gracious presence, my liege, mighty Toa warrior. Please, allow me, I meant you no disrespect. Please, let me carry on. And Takenuma was like, Kaburo, we're friends. What are you talking about? Why are you doing this? He was like, no, but this is how we must treat our great Toa overlords. And he's like, Toa overlords, what are you talking about? Kaburo is all of a sudden entrapped in a giant block of ice. Takenuma turns up, and Tahu and Kopaka are standing there in their original forms. They're not Toa Nuva. And they're like, speak, trespasser. Who are you? Where's your tablet of identification? He's like, guys, it's me. It's Takenuma. It's me. I don't have a tablet of are you trying to get my ID? I don't have one of those. And Kopaka just ice blasts him a bit and pushes him on the ground. Whole story is like, you will come with us. And so then he's just kind of being escorted to the Coliseum, and he's thrown in a cell, and he's like, well, this fucking sucks.
This is like the bad DC universe.
This is
Yes, he has to wait.
Oh yeah, because then he's sitting in the cell, and he's like, man, this is weird. And someone speaks in the back, and he's like, what do you got? What they got you in here for, stranger? And he looks over the wall, and there's a Matoran manacled hanging on the wall, and he looks at him, and he's like, uses a little bit of his light energy, and he's like, oh god fucking damn it. It's Takua on the wall! It's himself! And he's like, cool, so I'm a Toa of Light, I don't belong in this world. He's like, yeah, sure you are, whatever, man. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, no, I don't understand, I'm not from here, how does this all happen? He's like, alright, well, about like 3,500 years ago, there was this Toa named, what was the friggin' name? It was, Toa Tuyet. Were you guys here when I talked about Toa Tuyet? Mm-hmm. Okay. There's crazy Toa named Toa Tuyet, and she had this thing called the Nui Stone, and she took the Nui Stone and killed this Toa named Makan, and her and this traitor's Toa named Nadiki teamed up, and then she had like the power of like 100 Toa or something like that, and figured that if all the Toa were just in control of everything and just destroyed all the enemies in the universe, then no one had anything to fear. So they just gathered up all the Toa and made the Matoran just work camp slaves for everybody. And they went around, they just killed all the Makuta, and they killed they destroyed a whole bunch of islands, and now we just live in a giant Toa empire and build statues to them all day. And he's like, the what now? This is kind of bullshit. We're getting out of here. And he's like, where's Gali? He's like, yeah, he's probably in Ga Metro doing Gali things. And he's like, yeah, this fucking sucks. So he just like light laser beams and manacles off of Takua. He's like, yeah, we're getting the fuck out of here. He's like, no,
straight up not having a good
he's like,
time.
I do not vibe with this environment. I do not vibe with this universe. Takes him there. They're going down into the archives. And I'm like, where are we going? He's like, look, I'm looking for I'm looking for something down here. I'm looking for this being named the Kraka. There's an intelligent Rahi who probably can help us out. What's this? And so they walk into a room, and all of a sudden they see like a wall of stasis tubes, and in one of them is Taraga Duma. And then he's like, what is that? He's like, yeah, well, when Toa Tuyet decided that we would have this whole Toa Empire thing, he kind of said that she was a fake and not a real Toa, and that Toa were meant to be protectors of people, and that she had lost any. The Toa were supposed to be kind and filled with righteousness, and she had neither in her heart. And I mean, you gotta respect it. You gotta respect it, man. He kept on like that all the way until they put him in that tube. And Takano was like, "Are you serious right now?" And like starts breaking the tube open and brings Taraga Duma out. And he's like, "Well, who are you?" He's like, "Look, I'm a Toa." He's like, "I'm a friend though." He's like, "No Toa are friends of mine. Haven't you seen everything?" He's like, "No. Look, listen. I'm from a different universe. I need to find this Rahi called Kraka." He's like, "I really need help." And all of a sudden, behind him,
He's like, I think it's bullshit too.
I was like, "I think it's bullshit too, man." And all behind him is Toa Helrix, or not Toa Helrix, Toa Tuyet shows up, and she's like, "Yeah, help is exactly what you need, Toa." And I'm like, "Oh, fuck."
Yeah.
So this Toa is then escorted by 2 other Toa guards, and they're rounded up, and they're brought further and further to the archives. And talking to us all the time, he's like, "Why didn't they just kill us? They could have just killed us." Like, that's what I would. I mean, that's probably what they would have done. Like, this is weird. And all of a sudden, they get to a point where there's some Rakshi hanging around, and they turn around, and all of a sudden, the visages of these Toa melt, and it's actually just a couple of Makuta! And they're like, "Oh, what's going on?" He's like, "All right, Toa, what are you guys doing down here?" He's like, "Look, hold on, man, listen. I hate those Toa assholes as much as you guys do. I'm just trying to figure out how to get. Oh, I need to get my way out of here. I need to figure. I'm not from this dimension. I'm from a different place. We don't have a Toa 2 yet. We don't have a Toa Empire. A whole different thing. So can you help us out?" They're like, "All right, sure. So we'll help you out. Well, why should we even try? Like, who are you?" And he's like, "All right, look. I know you guys are Makuta. You guys are beings made of shadow. I am literally a Toa of light." And they're like, "Oh, that's not a good start, bud." Literally.
I know this is gonna sound bad.
Conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest is like, "Look, but I really just need to get out of here. I don't care about anything that's going on here, but I agree that this is all kind of bullshit," because Takanova in this instance is like, he's really conflicted, because on one hand, in his universe, we could have been fucking up everything.
Yeah.
And they're responsible for so much destruction and death and devastation and all this stuff. But in this universe, like, they're just another species that's basically been hunted almost to extinction by this Toa Empire that's just going around being like the big good guys. Like, if we just destroy and kill anyone who stands in our way, why would there be trouble?
Yeah.
This is like, this whole story and narrative is basically set to be like this is why Toa have that we don't kill people thing. This is why they have that rule set of like, these are kind of codes that we ascribe to, because if we just kind of were like, yeah, no, we just do whatever the fuck we want, and if anyone disagrees, we will just kill them. We're just that good. Like, this is the kind of scenario that would play out.
With great power comes great with no, put that knife down, no!
Yes! Pretty much. Quick Pterodax is like, all right, listen. Tuyek sent a Matoran envoy with 2 Toa over to Artaka to get an artifact known as Mask of Time. You help us get that Mask of Time from them, and we'll help you out. Deal? He's like, all right. He's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, I'm looking for a warrior named Brutaka. And the Makuta are like, yeah, I've heard a legend of Brutaka. Like, lives on some island of Voya Nui or something, protects some magic treasure or something, but that's just a Matoran fable. And a Matoran, anything that's shinier than like a slightly shiny rock is a treasure. He's like, look, he's real, I promise, I just need to get to him. It'll be great. Like, all right, so he helps out. So Takanuma goes out, he meets up with the convoy, which consists of Jala, a Matoran, riding with on this Usul crab with the cargo, and 2 Toa walking with it. All of a sudden, Takanuma is like, wait a second. He's like, I can probably play this up a little bit. Takanuma jumps down and is like, hail, fellow Toa. And they're like, and the 2 Toa with their spears are like, halt. He's like, who goes there? Back up now or be destroyed by my earth spear. And the Ice Toa is like, what my friend means to say is that you've startled us. And when we get startled, the people who startle us tend to disappear. So who exactly are you? Takanuma goes, I am Toa Takanuva, sent here by Toa Tuyet. And Jala immediately pipes up, he's like, I don't trust him. I've never heard of Toa Takanuva from Kodan, and he knows all the Toa. And so Takanuva goes, I'm sorry, Whelp, did I ask for your opinion? Because that's the normal in this universe. He's like, oh, look, I'm Toa Takanuva. I'm a very powerful Toa. It's like, let me ask you something, guys. Have you ever heard of the sandworms of Pokoro? And they're like, no. Have you heard about the Grolok, the ash bear? And they're like, no. Have you ever heard of the mutant fish, the Trencrom Peninsula? And they're like, no. He's like, there's a reason for that. Throws his spear into the ground and he's like, I am that reason. I am the reason. You've never heard of those things. And they're like, okay, well, what brings you here, Takanuva? And he's like, I was sent here by Toa Tuyet to add to your convoy because there seems to be someone who is going to be trying to steal the Mask of Time from you, and Toa Tuyet felt that there would be a third Toa needed, especially since you two are here. And they're like, oh yeah, and what's this menacing dark warrior's name who's coming to steal us? And Takanuva goes, what's his name? What's his name? His name is Brutaka. And Bomonga, the Earth Toa, chuckles, throws his spear down, and he's like, oh, you know of Brutaka? And Takanuva's like, yes, I do. He's like, you know of Brutaka? And Bomonga's like, oh, yes, I do, because I killed him. And Takanuva's like, fuck.
You don't say.
You don't say.
What a small fucking world.
So weird. He's like, yeah, he was a mighty warrior, but he went after Gaki and Qualis, and I just snuck up behind him and whacked him on the back of the head, and that was it. And he's like, because now they're like, all right, stranger, you can walk with us. Just why don't you walk in front of us? You're such a strong Toa, you'll be able to ward off anything coming your way. And Takanuva's like, yeah, sure. So he starts walking. He's like, fuck. And so he's like, yeah. He's like, Brutaka went down pretty easy. And Takanuva's like, yeah, it doesn't sound like it was a very fair fight. He's like, fair? He was an enemy of the Toa Empire. He had to be crushed. And he's like, really though? He's like, a Toa with a conscience. A rare thing, but also so unfortunate. Call's like, I can't tell you how many Toa I've met, just dead things on the wayside. They just couldn't bear that burden any longer. And Takanuva is getting more and more and more heated and being like, all right, guys, what happened to Brutaka's weapons and armor then? And they're like, well, you say you're part of the Toa Empire. Everyone knows what happens. He's like, well, yeah, I know. He's like, they got his weapons and masks got brought back to the Coliseum where we keep them as trophies. And he's like, fuck, why am I not in the Coliseum? It's also going to be the most heavily guarded thing. What? Fuck.
This is not my day.
So he keeps talking with them, and as they keep going, Takanuva is just like getting baited and starting to be like, look, I don't, guys, do you really think this is what Toa Tuyet had wished for? A world where everyone fears Toa, they just go out and destroy things indiscriminately, Toa turning on other Toa? This is, do you really think this is what they wanted? And he starts hearing, the sound of, something whirring, energy, and he's like, they're gonna fucking hit me from behind and kill me, aren't they? They're gonna do it! I know they are! And as he turns around, boom! Both of the Toa get blasted apart by, this giant gust of air. And he's like, excuse me? What? And all of a sudden comes Toa Lezovic! Yes, the same Toa Lezovic who only showed up for the underwater part of that weird one-story serial. Now he's back in this. And he's like, whoa, what the heck was that? He's like, look, the only reason you're not down on the ground with them is because you're not like them. Don't convince me otherwise. So he takes Takanuva, and Takanuva's explaining his whole situation. He's like, look, criminal of the universe, we need to get this mask, it'll be able to bring me back to another mask, we need to get to Coliseum. He's like, yeah, that's great. But, we got a lot more we need to do first. So they're walking. Basically, he's like, before we do that, he's like, we can't just rush in here. He's like, we need to have another plan. Takanuva, or whatever, if that even is your real name. So, they go into the waste of Pok-Metru, where is this giant stone of this throne of stone, the stone throne, and on it sits Pohatu. And so after night sets, all the Matoran go back to their huts or whatever, and Lezovic just goes to a rock and just kicks it like 3 times, and Pohatu goes, "Lezovic, you are out of your mind. What are you doing here, man?" And Lezovic is like, "Look, I got this new guy. He's a toe of light, so he's from a different universe. Seems pretty powerful. What do you say we overthrow the Toa Empire?" And Pohatu's like, "Go on." So then Takanuva was like, wait, hold on. It's like, hold on. If this universe happened where Montanui was never put into danger because Pterodact never completed his plan because Lacan was killed and then the Kudu were hunted, how are the Toa Mata here? Because they only should have been sent from the canisters if there was the signal given for the Pohatu's like, he's really new here, isn't he? Like, alright, listen up. Oh wait, listen up, short spot. Let me send you a good bite. And basically Pohatu goes, yeah, no, Tuyet really got us with that. Apparently Tuyet found out about our existence and found her way down into some place that no one had really ever been before and was able to find what the signal was to be able to launch our canisters. Replicated that signal and sent it out, which caused our canisters to come out, showed up and told us about this whole fairy tale about how the Makuta Menace and all this stuff, and these islands, and how we'd come out and protect it, and we bought it hook, line, and sinker. And we went along with it until suddenly I started kind of being a little weird when we would get to islands and we would just be having people from our side of there just wiping out Matoran and other Toa. I felt like maybe something was wrong here. So yeah, no, Toa Empire, not so great. But we've got a few defectors on our side as well, including the Chronicler, Kodam. Helps to have literally the person who has knowledge on every single Toa in the entire Empire is on our side. Helps us a lot. So, Pohatu, Takua, Takanuva, Lezovic, and a bunch of Dark Hunters, and a few other Toa here and there, all get together, and they're all in Tragaduma, and they're all going to have this giant raid on the Colosseum. So they all split up into different teams, and, it is an absolute bloodbath. They all go in. It is literally one Toa cutting down another Toa, cutting down another Toa, cutting down a Matoran. Takua gets icicled to death, which is big sad for him. Some Matoran get literally shredded into pieces. It is just an absolute bloodbath if they had blood. But okay, it's a protodermis bath, I guess. It is not a pretty sight. It is literally and so all these rebel forces are having they're all starting to have a little bit of trouble, but banding together. Takanuva makes his way into the Colosseum, manages to get in, and he starts laser blasting some things, and he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna laser blast the things, make the rocks fall on them. I hope they just got knocked out, and I didn't kill them though. Because I didn't kill him. But
we'll never know.
He's like, don't never know. And he makes his way into the Colosseum, and he finds the door. He's like, all right, this is where it should be. And he opens the door, and there's a tidal wave of water just boosh, gushes out, busts through, destroys. Takanuva is blasted through 7 walls of water, and he is on the ground just dazed. He's trying to get up, and Tuyet is like, hey, Dick Butt, listen, I figured out that you're not from this universe, and you shouldn't be here, so you need to stop messing around. You're messing around with Toa territory. You need to get out of here, boy. We don't cotton the freaks around here. We don't polycotton the freaks around here. And Takanuva goes, well, I don't polycotton the coping troops.
Not
he
here.
understands. He knows. He knows. You sound like the ugliest son of a bitch I ever heard.
My God, what do you mean?
Yeah, well, you look like the physical manifestations of some loser's inner demons. Xavier, Renegade Angel, for those who don't know. It's literally the best version of Rick and Morty there is in the universe.
It is. It's a show.
It is a show.
It's a show with stuff.
It is a show with stuff. The whole show, for those who don't know, can be basically summed up as the animated series of a white dude with dreadlocks.
It was high.
Dude.
He's really high.
So Totuya has a Nui Stone, full on using massive amounts of power. He's gonna fight Takanuba, and they start fighting back to back. They're having their what's the word? Philosophical argument about what Toa are not supposed to be, whatever. And Totuya is like, all your friends are dead out there, or they soon will be. And all of a sudden, they hear on the horizon and see out there that the Matoran, who are all just living there, saw all this happening and just all grabbed torches and pitchforks. And they're like, oh, it's go time! No more Toa, no more kings. And they just start descending on the Colosseum. And Takanuba's like, yeah, well, seems like that rebellion might be not so hard to quash after all. And Totuya's like, yeah, listen, I can just bring a giant wave and just kill them all there. And he's like, yeah, but then would you be sitting on a throne of corpses? And Totuya was like,
yeah.
You're not wrong, but shut up. They need to be taught a lesson there. He's like, listen, Totuya, you've got the Kenobi Almanac. You've got the Mask of Dimensional Gates. Why don't you just go to another universe where you can just take over another one? And she's like, stay in this one, spend a lot of resources and time destroying the Matoran population, not really have anyone to rule over. Go to another dimension, maybe find one that's really easy to take over. Everything's pretty great. Okay, opens up a dimensional gate. Takanuba's like, sayonara, sucker! And just jumps through the gate and then like shoots a light beam out of his hand to blast the Olmec off her face and grabs it, just jumps through the portal, and she's like, get back here, you little shit! And she jumps into the portal as well and shoots a water jet, knocks the mask out of Takanuba's hand, and he's like, oh god damn it! But he's like, oh no! Because as this is happening, since no one's using the mask, the portal's starting to close. And it's closing fast, and Totuya is so mad and so enraged, she doesn't even realize this, that she is only halfway through the portal. And Takanuba can only sit there and go, wait! And all of a sudden the portal closes and just bisects her in half. One half floating through the void of space-time with Takanuba. The other half just in the Colosseum. Takanuba's just like,
Technically speaking, she just got dismembered.
He didn't directly kill her.
Didn't mean
He
to.
didn't. Whoopsie.
She can't poop anymore.
Yeah, she can't poop on her shoes anymore. So that's the end of the kingdom. And he just floats on until he can find another portal, I guess.
It's really it's gotten real dark.
Oh, it really has. Like, things have really kind of ramped up. And so now we're going to go to Federation of Fear. We're going to jump back up because we're going to talk about what the Order of Montanui has been doing on the side of things. And what their shenanigans they've been getting up to. Because once again, you basically can do Toanuba, Takanuba's Adventure in Space-Time, and the Order of Montanui and what everybody else has been doing. So, we are going to start with Federation of Fear, which is basically the Bionicle Universe's version of Suicide Squad.
Right.
Because...
Thanks, I hate it.
Hey, listen. Listen.
Good defense.
I love it.
That's solid.
I wanted to make some remark of there not being a unrepentantly dumb female inclusion into this that everyone just marks as sex appeal for this, like Harley Quinn. But then I remembered Rudaka's fucking in this. So of course it doesn't matter. So some titties. So boom, Federation of Fear starts, wake up, Vizon, teleport friggin' crazy boy with spear fusion, wakes up in his cell, and he is just like, man, I fucking hate this place. Why am I in this cell? Man, only a few days ago, I got kidnapped by a bunch of Zygolat, and they were gonna kill me and stuff, but then I tried to betray this Toa Mari or whatever to them, but then I got teleported here, now I'm in this cell, and there's some crab dude over there, and there's some mantis dude over here, and there's some vortex bitch. I don't know, she looks awful, I hate her. I don't know, she's weird. I don't know, I'm weird. I don't know. Literally, Federation of Fear is all just, in my opinion, the story of Vizon being the best boy, of just being chaotic. Just pure chaos the entire time. Because all of a sudden shows up Brutaka, and he goes, alright, dirtbags. He's like, listen guys, good news. You guys can get out one of two ways. And Brutaka comes up, she's like, and that is, he's like, alright, you do us a favor, you do a job for us, and we give you your freedom, or I grab you, take you out back, and dig a hole in the ground and throw you in and bury you. And and so Viazon walks up and he's like, so tell us, great multi-spiky blade-wielding gardener of destruction, what would you have us do? He's like, we just got a little mission for us all. We just got to do a little mission. We're all going to work together. Because, basically, all of you suck. And nobody will care if you're dead. And that's exactly what we need on this mission. So Brutaka gathers up these, I think it's 5 individuals at the point, because it's Brutaka,
Harley Quinn.
Brutaka is just Deathstroke,
Deadshot.
just Deathshot, whatever. But you've got Brutaka, Rudaka, Vizon, Karpar, and Taxox, 2 of the Baraki. And Vizon the whole time is like, hey, listen, man, like I didn't do it. They're like, well, why are we all picked for this? And he's like, and Brutaka goes, because we've all had dealings with the Brotherhood of Makuta. Rudaka here used to work for the Brotherhood of Makuta, betrayed them to the Dark Hunters, then betrayed the Dark Hunters to the Brotherhood of Makuta. I kind of worked for them at one point too. Karpar and Mintax had their legions destroyed by them. And Vizon's like, question. I am Vizon, not Vizok, with a K. I only existed for like 2 weeks. I've never even met a Makuta. I mean, I did try to take the Mask of Life and destroy an island and destroy a Toa team. Got kidnapped by a Zygalak and then tried to betray that Toa team to the Zygalak. But I mean, I didn't actually do anything wrong. I didn't really get away with doing anything. So I don't understand why I'm here. And he's like, Vizon, shut up. So they go first to the island of Stealth. Stealth is basically like the Mos Eisley of the Bionicle universe. It is a hive of scum and villainy where basically all like dark hunters and various traders and of deals and information services all go there.
Did you say China?
No. It's just Hong Kong, but for Bionicle universe.
I like Hong Kong. Hong Kong's good. Well, was. Sorry. Go on. I didn't take it over.
Really?
Go ahead and take note where you have to snip that out of the thing.
YouTube's blocking China. They're not gonna see it.
Yeah. So they go and they're like, all right, guys, we're gonna need a really big boat to get where we need to go. They're like, oh, and there was one Makuta with them, Makuta Spirit, who was the Makuta of the island of Zakaz, who was doing experiments on the island and fucked up so bad that made the entire Skokti race, the Prokas shit. That is why they are so insane and have weird elemental powers and stuff. Because he just experimented on the entire race the entire time he was there and fucked it up so bad that the Brotherhood of Makuta was like, dude, we can't vibe with you anymore. Like, you're banished. Like, we can't deal with you. And have been kind of hunting him down for the last few thousand years, unsuccessfully. So they're like, all right, so what is this plan that we're going to do when we get this boat? And Brutaka goes, we need to go free a Makuta named Mizrax. And Spyro is like, nope, not gonna do that, dude. Not gonna do that. I don't think you know about the time that I helped imprison that dude. He's gonna be rude, man. I'm not gonna die. And Brutaka's like, listen, shut the fuck up. Listen. If you don't help us, we're just gonna signal the Brotherhood of Makuta that you're here. And they'll find you for sure. Or you can help us free Makuta Mizrax and maybe get back in their good graces and then fuck up the Brotherhood of Makuta. So which is it going to be? He's like, I guess I'll help. And so they're going to Stealth and they're like, okay, we need a bigger boat. It's like, well, and Rudaka's like, well, we don't even have any coins. We don't have any weapons to trade. We don't have any Matoran widgets. What do we have? And Rudaka's like, oh, we have you. Man, because it sure would be the island of Stealth, where King Sidorak is from. Sure, someone would probably pay a pretty penny for the head of the person who killed their king. And she's like, the what now? And just picks her up and grabs her. And it's like, and they go to meet a shady dealer, and the shady dealer's like, all right, what you got? He's like, listen, I need a boat. I need a big boat. I don't need a boat that'll get me to the island of Archdax. And he's like, Archdax, island so far down in southern chain islands that you'll never come back, right? So you need my best boat that I'm never going to see again. What do you got for payment? And he's like, how about the person who killed King Sidorak? And he's like, Okay, that's a pretty good deal. You got a titty. So, okay, it was a good deal. And so, as Bertaka is talking with the merchant, all of a sudden, you start to hear, like, Taxidox has slipped off into the water by the boat, and you just hear splash, 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 splash. Nobody's paying attention to it. But Bertaka's like, all right, so here's the deal. It's like, no one's going to actually believe that you managed to capture Bertaka. So all we're going to do is we're going to rough you up just a little bit to make it look like you got in a fight and that you were able to do it. And the guy's like, oh, okay, that sounds good. It makes sense. He's like, so I was like, but just right here on the head and just a light one. And Viazon's like, and so Bertaka's like, yep, just one hit. And then you won't even feel it. And Biazon's like, ever again! So Biazon gets a stick, and he's like, alrighty! And then Bertaka smacks the dude on the back of the head. And Biazon's like, hey dude, that was mine! I was gonna smack him! And it wouldn't even done that much damage! It only needed like 3 or 4 hours to make sure that everything was fine and no one would ever even know what happened. And Biazon and Bertaka's like, yeah, that is exactly why I did that and did not let you do that. So, everybody get on the boat and let's go. And we're going to go ahead and cut it here for now, and we'll pick this up next time and continue the crazy misadventures of the Federation of Fear.